Hello, everyone. How are we all doing? Come on in, sit on down. I am back. It's been a while. It's been about a month, and I have been on paternity, looking after my newborn and taking care of the family and supporting, well, offering as much support as I possibly can. But I am back. I am ready to get back to work, and I thought I'd kick it off with a special guest show. I have Vitalay of the YouTube channel Alpha Talks with me. Now, if you don't know what he does, he's an amazing guy who does quite a lot of pretty cool videos on his channel, covering a plethora of Christian conspiracy law videos and examining some really obscure stuff. He's a huge contributor to the Millennial Kingdom research, but he's also done a lot of research on the nature of parasites, demons, and the odd mix with all these things together. And the way he's presented it has been fantastic. And if you didn't notice, he did come on my channel maybe a month or two ago, maybe 3 months now, and gave a presentation about parasites and demons. And that video has reached 500,000 people. It went viral. All credit goes to him for that. But he has actually just written a book, and I've invited him on to kick off the return to YouTube to talk about his book. So, Vitalay, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yep, I could hear you.
Fantastic. How are we doing, man? Are you good?
Good, yep, feeling good.
Feeling good. Fantastic. Yeah, because if people, again, who don't know, you're actually a fitness instructor, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I manage a studio, I train.
Fantastic. Yeah, so you should be feeling good. I am feeling incredibly unfit right now. I've been couching and eating nothing but rubbish. Just nesting, as they call it, not doing anything or much of anything at all, but sitting down and holding a baby. So I'm feeling pretty unfit right now. So I think this talk could be fitting for me. It could help me maybe get a bit of motivation and sort out my health, because it is the season. This is December when this is being recorded. Christmas has just gone. And, whether you celebrate Christmas or not, there's nothing but sweets and chocolates all around us. And I think today we're going to kind of discuss maybe why we should think twice before we partake in too much of that and
100%.
overindulge. So if you want to tell the guys about yourself and the book you've just published, and let's get into this.
Yeah, my name is Vitalay, and like Paul said, I have a YouTube channel where I talk about obscure topics through a biblical lens, which includes like conspiracies, history, and health. And recently, I've been obsessed with the topic of gut health and its connection to the mind, the body, and the spirit. And I actually just finished writing a book that I've been working on, technically 2 years of just collecting information. But then in the last like 6, 8 months, I just started writing and putting all the information together in this book.
Fantastic. Soul in the belly. And again, it's quite timely because we have been discussing this topic, haven't we, of the link between your health and the
Mm-hmm.
spirit and the soul, and how it's all kind of located in this middle area, generally speaking. There seems to be this odd spiritual connection, biblically speaking, as well. And like I said, we did talk about the parasite demon connection, and we were just musing
Mm-hmm.
about a few things. We weren't really thinking it would go anywhere, but the I don't know, the response was overwhelming. Like, people really wanted to hear this stuff. So
Yeah.
your book is perfect timing. How's the launch gone? Just if you don't mind me asking, just kidding.
Real better than I expected, actually. Really blessed and thankful to see a lot more people interested in this topic and that they're starting to make a change. They want to change their diet, they're incorporating fasting and good habits. And I think more and more people are realizing that spiritual issues, physical issues, mental, emotional, it's all connected. It's all bunched up into one issue, meaning that, like, if your mind's not doing well, your body's not doing well, your spirit's not doing well. If your body's not doing well from all the junk we consume and chemicals, well, then everything else is not doing well. Spiritually, you're not doing well. Mentally, you're not doing well. So I realized that it's all interconnected. Even issues that I used to consider more spiritual, like schizophrenia, nightmares, OCD. You asked me this a year ago, 2 years ago, I would have said these are purely spiritual and you can't fix them with any physical solutions like a diet, right?
Hmm.
But now my mind has completely changed. I think it's all connected, and it does matter what you eat. It does matter what you do, what you pray, if you fast or not. And it's all connected. And if one thing is off, everything else is off.
Hmm.
And I like to give the analogy of like a car, right? If the motor is not working, the car's not going anywhere. If the wheels are not working, the car is not going anywhere, right? So if something crucial is not working, your body, the entire machine is not working as properly as it should. Yeah,
Fantastic, fantastic. So the sales are going good. That's good to hear.
yeah,
And
yeah.
like I said, the timing of this is perfect, really, because there is this hunger out there for people to learn about these odd things. I feel like there's a bit of an odd spiritual awakening happening with the general public right now, and I think more and more people are taking seriously
Hmm.
the spiritual impact on the physical realm, especially when it comes to our own body and health. I mean, I did a parasite cleanse myself not that long ago after our talk, and you notice tangible differences in your behavior, your attitude, your thoughts, everything, and
Yeah.
it's unbelievable just how connected it all truly is. So I'll give the floor to you on this. What do I know? I didn't write the book on this thing, you know. So I'm going to let you just maybe go on explain, you know, the inspiration for this and the basic premise and ideas, and maybe you can share what you think the most important takeaway of your book is. I did order a copy. I sent you
Appreciate it.
I
Yeah,
sent
I
you
saw it.
I sent you the receipt. It's coming tomorrow, so the timing is just terrible, you know, this time of year. So I look forward to reading it, but maybe you can give me a bit of a sneak peek today in my audience,
Yeah,
Vitalay.
yeah,
So
100%. So, what inspired me to actually look into this topic is, of course, the Bible. And I believe the Bible is very rich. It's not just theology. You know, a lot of Christians love to say it's just a book on theology. It's not science. It's not this. It's not that. But I think it's a heap of things if you pay attention. And so I noticed that there's all kinds of verses in the Bible about the belly, and it talks about the gut in a spiritual sense. It actually talks about a lot of organs in a spiritual sense. Like it says that our belly is the seat of emotional experiences, and it's also the seat of our soul and the Holy Spirit. And I'll actually read some verses that I put down in the first chapter, which is called the seat of the soul. And so the first verse I mentioned is one of the most important ones, in my opinion. This is what really jump started me. And it's John 7:38. He that believeth on me, as the scripture had said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. Now, so this is the King James Version.
hmm.
Some modern versions translate belly as heart, like the heart organ, but it's actually false. It's supposed to be belly because if you look at the original word in Greek, it's koilia, and it literally means the belly, the womb, the innermost part of a man, the soul, the seat of thought, emotion, and choice. And so it's literally describing your stomach.
Hmm.
And as I'm reading this, I'm thinking, like, is this just, you know, poetic? Is this a figure of speech, or is there something more to it? And so I look at other verses in the Bible that has to do with the gut and something spiritual, you know, not just eating or drinking. And so I get to the book of Proverbs, chapter 20, verse 27, and it says, the spirit of man is the candle of the Lord, searching all the inward parts of the belly. So the spirit of man is the candle of the Lord, and he's searching inside of our belly. And essentially, I explain this verse and I basically say that this passage tells us that God knows everything about a person's inner life, including their feelings, intentions, motives, thoughts, and desires. Things people don't know because they can't look inside of you. They can't examine your desires and your emotions because you can hide this stuff, but not
Hmm.
from God. And so, according to this verse, all of these things can be found in the inward parts of the belly. And I kind of stopped right there and I started thinking, like, well, pretty much every single emotion, if not all emotions, are felt in the gut, including a lot of passions and desires, right? When you're anxious, where do you feel it? Stomach, right? You get knots
Hmm.
in your stomach. When you're happy or joyful, you feel a pleasant, warm feeling. When you're depressed, you feel a heaviness in your stomach. When you're in love, what is that called?
But
Butterflies, right?
butterflies. That's all right. Yeah.
And what's interesting about that is lust is also butterflies in the stomach, arousal. You feel it in the belly. And in fact, Plato himself, the Greek philosopher, he said that the stomach is the location of desires and passions, like the Bible says. It's the location of love and also lust. And the fascinating thing about that is love and lust feel very similar if you don't pay attention. They're
Hmm.
both butterflies in the stomach, and that's why people get them confused. And so I continue reading in the book of Proverbs because Proverbs talks a lot about the belly. And I find another verse, and it's Proverbs 18, verse 8. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost part of the belly. So a talebearer is basically somebody that gossips, right?
Hmm.
When a person gossips, it hurts people's feelings, right? Depending on what they say. And Proverbs says you feel it in the innermost center part of your stomach. And you do, right? Somebody says something hurtful towards you and you take offense to it, you feel it in your stomach. You get these knots, you get this discomfort. Now you don't want to eat. And it just affects your spirit, your mind, your body all together, like bunched up. And yeah, I basically explain in the book that gossip can have the potential to lead to feelings of low self esteem, depression, anxiety, and emotional distress, which can destroy a person's overall self confidence. All of these negative emotions and perceptions can be felt in the stomach, as the book of Proverbs says. And then I start reading a little bit further, or not further, in the Old Testament, in the book of Job. And this one really fascinated me because it says it connects the gut and the spirit again, just like Proverbs. So this is Job 32:17 through 20. I said, I will answer also my part. I also will shew my opinion, for I am full of matter. The spirit within me constraineth me. Behold, my belly is as wine, which hath no vent. It is ready to burst like new bottles. I will speak that I may be refreshed. I will open my lips and answer. So in this verse, a young man and a friend of Job, the youngest friend of Job, named Elihu, grows impatient when all his friends are talking to Job, trying to give him advice. And so Elihu begins to speak, and he states that he is full of words and needs to have his say. Like he just can't hold it in any longer, and that he can't wait anymore. And so Elihu makes the connection between the spirit and gut by telling Job and his friends that the spirit within him is urging him to speak, and compares his intense emotions in his belly to a new wine bottle with no vent, ready to burst open. Now, when dissecting this verse even further, he compares his intense emotions ready to burst out of his belly to a wine bottle. And back in the Bible days, they didn't use actual glass bottles, it was wineskins.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you got your phone on you, go on Google, look up what wineskins look like, and then look up what the stomach organ looks like. It's identical, literally identical. It's the same, like this shape right here,
Yeah.
the top stomach shape. And I'm reading all through all these verses, and then I find more verses like in the book of Job. I actually have in my notes. It says that the stomach is the force of the belly. Or, I mean, the force of a man is found in his stomach, and his strength is found in his loins. And loins can also be like a metaphor or symbolic for your testicles. And that is indeed where we get our strength. It's our testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
And our energy comes from the belly, right? The blood carries the nutrients throughout our organs, gives us more energy, absorbs all that nutrients. And yeah, that's what kind of really jump started me into this topic. So then I've read every verse I could possibly find, and I start looking into scientific evidence for what God says. Because if the Bible is divinely inspired, everything it says is true.
Mm-hmm.
And even these poetic verses can have a double meaning. It could be both poetic and both very literal. And so I started looking into emotions located in the belly, desires, passions, and what our stomach affects in terms of our health. And there's all of these scientific articles that even connects our gut health to schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, all kinds of physical issues, joint pain, even things like erectile dysfunction is connected to your gut because of the lack of blood flow. And yeah, that's what really just got me obsessed with this topic.
That is fascinating stuff. Like, and again, it's so heavily referenced in the Bible repeatedly. Yeah. And it's one of those things like modern science just doesn't everything's in the brain today. That's how we kind of perceive everything. You are nothing but thoughts and impulses and firing off in this organ inside your skull. And people kind of feel like that's where my spirit is seated behind my eyes. People kind of have that idea, but really it's all gut orientated from a biblical perspective. The brain's more just a machine that's doing its thing, but you are seated in the belly. That's kind of where the soul really comes out from. I remember hearing, maybe if you will know more than me about this, but isn't there something to do with a tether coming out of the stomach in like a spiritual sense? I've heard this mentioned plenty of times before.
The tether?
Yeah, I think when people astral travel, I've heard there's like a tether.
Silver lining.
Yeah, it comes out of the belly. It's like this tether. It's kind of like an umbilical cord to some sense. And again, even that, I'm thinking now the umbilical cord, that is quite an interesting point, isn't it? That you're nourished by the mother through the stomach to begin with. And it's fascinating stuff. So I don't want to take it away from you because you'll just keep pound the knowledge on, man. Go. What else have you
got? No, that's a good point. I believe Solomon talks about the silver cord. And he also, this is a really interesting verse. I forgot where exactly it was in the Bible. But he talks about if the silver lining is cut or if the golden bowl is broken, then the person dies, the spirit is gone. Or either the body fully dies or something else takes over. Like, all those stories of like people getting head traumas and they become serial killers as if something else comes in. There's even a movie like that I think it's called Monkey Bone. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I've not seen that one.
All right, well, basically, to sum it up, in the movie, Brendan Fraser, the actor, he gets he's a cartoonist and he gets a head injury from a car accident, and his spirit disappears somewhere and some kind of entity takes over and starts ruining his life basically.
Okay.
Yeah, so that just kind of reminded me of the Solomon verse about the golden bowl being broken. It's supposed to be a representation for your head, meaning like if
Mm.
there's some kind of brain damage, because our brains are kind of like Jerry Marzinski said, right? The psychiatrist, he said your brain is basically a receiver. It's like an antenna; it receives things.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm going to continue into the book. So in the Bible, there's the topic of biblical physiology, which a lot of people don't know about or haven't really paid attention to. And so the ancient Hebrews believed that every organ was connected to some kind of psychic ability, or not psychic, but more so like a part of it's connected to our soul, or our soul is connected to these organs. So, for example, in Leviticus, it says the life of the flesh is in the blood.
Hmm.
The stomach is the seat of various emotions, right? Your soul, the Holy Spirit, and that's where they engage in their divine operations. The bowels were believed to be the location of tender emotions like compassion, passion, distress. And I also list an example on page 4 in the book of Lamentations, chapter 2, verse 11. Mine eyes do fail with tears, my bowels are troubled, my liver is poured upon the earth for the destruction of the daughter of my people, because the children and sucklings swoon in the street of the city. So in this book, in Lamentations, the prophet Jeremiah expresses empathy and sadness and states that his bowels are troubled. Now, like if today, if somebody were to tell you my bowels are troubled, that means they got to go to the bathroom or they can't.
Yeah,
Right?
wasn't there isn't there a phrase called bowels of mercy or something like that in the
Yep. I
Bible?
actually mentioned that's the next verse that I mentioned.
I remember some, last time we talked about that, someone said in the comment section, that's a great name for a band, Bowels of Mercy.
Bowels of mercy, heavy metal
But
band.
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. That's fine. So yeah, that's what you just mentioned is Colossians 3:12, and Paul states that we are to have bowels of mercy. He says, "Put on therefore as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meek." And term bowels of mercy is a phrase that refers to having an innate compassion for others. So it's the biblical view that our digestive organs are the location of the tender emotions, right?
Hmm.
Compassion, sympathy, empathy.
Well,
Uh,
this is interesting because obviously we're talking about
yeah.
we live in an age where organ transplants are commonplace, and
Mm-hmm.
this really makes you rethink about what are we actually messing with in the spiritual realm when we're dealing with physical things like swapping organs and exchanging things like this from other bodies. Because again, we
Yeah.
live in a world where it's very black and white. We're like a car. If the engine's broken, replace it with another engine, or if a
And you'll be
cog,
the same.
yeah, if a piston blows, put another piston in there for and everything will be identical, and everything. But I don't think we quite work like that in reality. But that's
Mm-mm.
basically what modern science and surgery kind of views us as. I think they've got a bit more nuanced and complicated in the modern age. They understand everything's interconnected now, and you can't affect one thing without affect. I think, but back in the day, it was very much just cut it out, put a new one in. Like, it's just a butcher's way of doing things. It's very
Literally.
yeah.
Yeah.
But when you consider this angle, it's kind of every organ is related to a specific emotion. It's kind of and you
A
can
part of your soul. Yeah.
exactly, and go ahead. Just initial thoughts there, but I'll let you
Yeah.
carry
Well,
on.
now that you mentioned that, also reminds me of those stories where people replace, like a heart organ, and they get that person's desires,
Mm, yeah.
appetites. Right now, they crave something they've never craved before, and now their favorite food is the favorite food that that person had.
Hmm.
And so you're absolutely right. We are definitely messing with spiritual things. You are putting a part of their soul, like, sort of, into their body, basically.
Hmm.
And that's where they get these random. Sometimes, some people might even have some memories or desires, passions, or hobbies, or maybe even a new skill. I mean, we've heard of those savants, right? They get some kind of injury, they replace an organ, and all of a sudden they can play piano, or
Hmm.
something like that. And so that was pretty interesting.
Very interesting. It's like information is stored in these things on a level we
Yeah.
just can't comprehend.
No, no, no.
Yeah. Go ahead.
God made our bodies very complex, and this is the key to kind of understanding ourselves better and maybe solving a lot of our physical, mental, emotional issues.
Hmm.
Because I think when people target these issues, right, let's say they have, depression, anxiety, they'll take a pill or they go to therapy. I think that's more of a side effect. You're trying to cure a side effect and not the root. And I think the root is the gut, your organs. I think that's the root. And if you address that, you can address a heap of problems. Because if that's like the HQ, the headquarters for our soul, is best to clean that place up if it's a temple, right? For our spirit or for the Holy Spirit. And yeah, so on the topic of compassion being found in the bowels, there's another example in the book of Genesis, chapter 43. And this is chapter 43, verse 30. And Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother. And he sought where to weep. And he entered into his chamber and wept there. So in the book of Genesis, chapter 43, Joseph gets quite emotional after speaking to his younger brother Benjamin in a kind and courteous manner. He is unable to lose control in front of others because he is the second most powerful man in all of Egypt. Rather, he withdraws to his room and cries by himself in an attempt to regain control over his feelings. So again, Joseph states that he's feeling this in his bowels, right? Just like Paul says, we are to have bowels of mercy. And just like Jeremiah in Lamentations says that his sadness, his compassion is felt again in his bowels. So this was in the ancient world pretty common knowledge, not just among the Israelites, but other cultures as well. So like in ancient China, right, the Taoists, they believed that the stomach was the location of your life source, your soul, right? The most important energy center. They believe there was like three, one in your head, chest, and abdomen. And the abdomen was like the most important location. And so, yeah, that's the name for the Hebrew belief on physiology is called the mind body paradigm. So every organ was connected to some kind of ability in terms of like emotional, cognitive, mental desires and passions. Yeah, yeah, that's what really jump started me is literally the Bible. I mean, as with many topics I talk about, it goes from the Bible to me getting really curious. I think the key is just curiosity, right? I feel like a lot of people have lost that. And like the Bible says, you have to become like a child again. Get curious, start to wonder. Don't just read something and just put it to the side, like whatever. I don't care to figure it out because I think people are missing out on some key information.
I think people are ready for this information. Like I said,
They are,
the
yeah.
popularity of just talking about the effect of parasites and the spiritual implications. I only had like maybe like 5%, maybe not even 5%, less than that, maybe 2% of comments saying this is stupid, backwards religious nonsense. Parasites have nothing to do with demons. Demons aren't real. I'd say 98% of the comments are like, this is incredible. Obviously, this is real. This is true. And it's like I think people are just kind of expanding a little bit. I don't want to get too new agey with the concepts. Not everyone's suddenly converting to Christianity, but they are becoming more consciously aware of there's odd things going on, spiritually speaking, that can manifest
100%.
physical. And you're talking there about gut feelings, and everyone knows what a gut feeling is. I've had a few in my life, and it's uncanny. Like you get this feeling something's wrong.
How accurate it is too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's like something is wrong. You just know, you feel it in the guts. It's right
but you
there.
don't know how.
Yeah, you don't know. No. And the next thing you know, like literally 10 minutes later or a day later, you receive the information that confirmed your feeling. It's kind of I've told this story before, but before I was a YouTuber and I did all this and became what I am today, I was a manager at a supermarket. And when I just become a manager and just been promoted and moved to a new store, I woke up one morning and I knew in my gut they've found my channel and they're going to confront me about it today. I just knew. I had no reason to know. I woke up and I just had it. I had this unnerving feeling in the guts, and I drove into work and I got in there and people were looking at me funny. And I knew it. I was like, I'm right. And next thing I know, my manager comes up to me, he's like, Paul, can I just see you in the office for a minute? and I go in, and there's the area manager and my store manager sat there confronting me, telling me, so we found this YouTube channel, and we're a bit concerned with some of the things you're talking about. You can't really have this channel and be a manager. We want to protect you, Paul. It's kind of like, if you want to be a manager, and let's say staff find your channel and they get a bit offended by what you're talking about, we can't help you. We can't, and we want to protect you, Paul. And it's kind of like that's slimy corporate speak, But it's kind of, I woke up that morning knowing it was a gut knowing. And so I wasn't surprised when I sat down. It's like, okay, so this is happening. All right, fair enough. And then the rest is history. But it's kind of, it's uncanny. And my wife, Keely, she'll tell you, and I've seen it happen. I trust her gut feelings and she's given me every reason to trust them because she's always right. When she has a gut feeling about a person or a situation, she'll tell me it's like they ain't right. Something's wrong. Something's wrong with that person, or this is a bad situation, or don't go there today. Something always happens to confirm, like, yeah, absolutely, that person was a lunatic. How could I be so naive? It's like she just sees, she just knows these things. She has these senses about people, and I
Mhm.
don't. I'm quite naive about most things, but her gut feeling, I would trust it to the end of the world. And it's like, like why do we trust? Why do we even have a gut feeling? It's just one of those odd. It's an
It's
odd
weird.
thing, isn't it? You know, do you have any tales about gut feelings yourself? Do you have anything you want to
I
expound upon with
do.
that? Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, what's really funny, it's kind of cliche, but like I had a gut feeling about this this topic.
Oh yeah.
Um, and what I come to find out, I am pretty much fully convinced that the gut feeling, especially good, positive gut feelings that leads you to the Bible, to Christ, I think that's the Holy Spirit. Because it feels like its own separate intelligence. I'm like, I didn't know that. I didn't know I was supposed to go there, or
Mm-hmm.
not supposed to talk to this person, or I'm not supposed to engage in these things, and I was going to get in trouble. But like you get this feeling, and you're like, okay, like maybe I should listen to this odd feeling. Maybe I shouldn't go there. And like you said, you get confirmation the next day, next couple of days, and you're like, how in the world was that so accurate? Why was that so accurate? And
Mm-hmm.
so what really got me inspired is the Bible, of course, but I also had this like desire to improve myself just overall, physically, mentally, like spiritually. For the longest time, I was obsessed with the movie Limitless. I don't know if you've seen it,
It's a classic. Yeah.
right? It's classic. He
Yeah.
takes the pill and he's able to access 100% of his brain. He goes from a schmuck to like a straight up superhuman. He thinks faster. He learns better. He's physically healthier. He's working out. He's just like the perfect human. Like he's excelling in everything. And that's what I really wanted, right? And I'm like, how do I like tackle all of these areas of my life? How to become spiritually better, right? How do I follow Christ better? How do I become physically better? How do I increase my cognitive abilities? I want to be smarter. I want to learn faster. And looking into this topic and realizing that your soul is somehow linked, or is the direct seat of, or is linked to your gut and it's the direct seat of it, I realized that's what I need to tackle. And so as I was writing this book, I was actually applying all the things I'm talking about and like researching, like following a biblical diet, doing fasting protocols, doing mindful practices that the Bible recommends, such as I think it's Philippians where it says to always think on positive things, right? If something is pure, if something is holy, if something is good, if there's any value in it, it says always think on these things. Right? That's complete opposite of what New Agers tell you, like empty your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Empty it completely, but I don't think that's a good thing. I think we're always supposed to be thinking about positive things. And when you think about these positive things constantly, that de-stresses you, that relaxes you, and that helps your gut, right? Now you're not feeling this anxiety inside of your stomach, and vice versa, right? If you eat junk, if you eat unclean, you eat a bunch of sugar, now that's affecting your mental health. So it's a constant, like, reciprocal relationship. And I actually talk about it in the book. It's called the gut brain axis. That's the scientific term. There are literally nerves from your stomach connecting all the way to your brain, and it's always communicating, right? So it's like, let's say if you have stage fright, you give a speech at your wedding, you're super nervous, you'll feel it in your gut. You eat some garbage you weren't supposed to, now you feel it up here, right? You get this fogginess. But once you address both simultaneously, right, like you care about your mental health, you care about your gut health, you're like the perfect human. Mental fogginess goes away. You have more mental clarity. You think faster. You think better. Your joints are better. Your muscles are better. You're stronger. I would even argue and say that applying these habits to your life will make your spiritual walk better. I think you'll be a better follower of Christ because a lot of these things that our gut affects, like cognitive abilities, emotions, that's what we use to judge our actions and if we should be doing certain things or shouldn't. And it makes following Christ a bit, I don't know if I should say easier, but simple, right? We have more
Mm-hmm.
clarity in our minds. So we're like, okay, I know I'm supposed to do this and not this, right? Your judgment skills become better. You think faster, you learn faster, right? And then now your emotional health is healthy, right? You don't overreact, you're not impulsive. You sit there and think like, should I do this? What kind of consequences am I going to face? And so before addressing my gut health, my cognitive abilities, emotional health was not the best in terms of like following Christ, right? I was a little bit more impulsive. I would kind of jump into my sins right away, not thinking twice. Versus now, I kind of sit and I'm like, okay, This is not going to benefit me physically, mentally, spiritually. Don't engage in that. Here's what's going to happen if you do it. So it's like, it just blows my mind that a diet and fasting and mindful practices can make you a better follower of Christ. And so a lot of people don't think about this, right? They think like your spirit is disconnected from your body, and there's little value to physical fitness, as people love to take out of context in the Bible, right? That one verse in Timothy.
Mm-hmm.
Physical fitness has little value, but spiritual is where it's at. But it's all connected, right? It's all valuable. But a lot of people disconnect it, and that's where the issues begin, right? Christians statistically are the most overweight, unhealthiest religion in America. Baptists actually take first place. They are the most overweight denomination. All those buffets on Sundays. Yet they point out other sins like alcoholism, smoking cigarettes, but they never address gluttony, which, in my opinion, I think it's like at least top 3 worst sins you can possibly commit. It's one of the first sins in the Bible, right? Eating something God said not to eat. And of course, they ate it and it corrupted their bodies. Now, like, granted, a Snickers bar is not the forbidden fruit, but I think there's a lesson there. Like, if God says not to eat something, then probably don't eat it. Don't question it. If God's prophets and people didn't eat it within the Bible, then we shouldn't either. We have the same bodies. Our bodies did not change in these thousands of years, like people love to claim. Like, oh, we don't need to eat clean anymore. I'm like, last time I checked, science has shown us that, these animals are still eating poop. They're parasite filled. And even science can tell you without the Bible that all the unclean animals God mentions are the worst things you can put in your body, aside from sugars and oils. And so I think it's important to treat the Bible not just like a theology book, but literally a health book, like how to live for dummies like you and I. It's literally like how to properly live for dummies.
Well, maybe
yeah.
we should start getting into this now, because we've talked a lot about gut health here and
Mm-hmm.
the profound changes that can happen to an individual who focuses on getting it right. But how can we get it right? Your average Joe schmuck out there who's just overindulged in ridiculous amounts of feasting and foods over the holiday season and an excessive amount of sugar. Fitness season's coming now. It's January. Everyone's going to feel guilty and going to start getting into the gym and all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for all these people who maybe have just stumbled onto this video and are now hearing all of this new way of viewing it, the spiritual aspects behind all of this, how can they begin to turn things around and become that limitless, superhuman, possibly spiritually connected person you were alluding to there? Where do we begin? What solutions have you got for us?
The first official step is prayer and asking God, because He says He gives you what you ask for. If you knock, He opens the door. If you ask for the answers, He'll give it to you. He won't make you follow the answers and apply it. He'll just show you, right? He'll give you instructions, just like there's instructions all throughout the Bible, what you should do. But a lot of people love to try to pray away their health problems, but God doesn't work like that. He's not a genie. He gives you instructions, you follow the instructions, right? He doesn't open the door for you. He does. I mean, He doesn't knock for you, but He opens the door for you, right? And so the first step is definitely prayer. The second step, I also talk about it in one of the chapters in my book, and it's realizing you have free will, right? You weren't put in this unhealthy position because of fate, or as the Calvinists like to put it, it's just destiny that you're fat and unhealthy and you're mentally unwell and your cognitive abilities are declined. It's you, right? You got yourself here. We all got ourselves where we're at right now. So if we're unhealthy, mentally, spiritually, physically, it's nothing outside of us, right? We are the worst persons in our life. I grew up an Orthodox Christian, and that's what they teach you, that nobody is a worse sinner or a worse person than you. No dictator, no politician. You are the worst person in your life. You are the cause of every issue you have. So, yeah, the second step, recognize you have free will and that you can literally make the correct choices. As God says, right, I can do all things through Christ, which includes following instructions properly, right? So free will is a big thing. People always forget or neglect or underappreciate that God has given us the ability to choose, right? Like that we're free will agents. We're able to make decisions. So that's a big one. And then officially after that, start putting in some effort. When God sees you put an effort, He guides your steps. He gives you information. Maybe some of you stumbled upon this video because of that very reason, right? You prayed, you asked, and maybe you're seeing this and it's kind of inspiring you to, put in the effort to fix your diet or try eating clean. And so the third step is looking into scripture concerning all the topics that have to do with diet. So that's in the Old Testament, right? About the clean animals, the unclean animals, and kind of treat your eyes like they're highlighters. Just focus on what God says about what we should consume, what we shouldn't consume. Like, forget what your pastor says about, oh, the Old Testament is long gone. Like, we don't need to follow these weird rules, arbitrary rules. Forget about all that. So just look into the Bible through like a health perspective, right? Treat it like a diet book, because there's even recipes in the Bible for like the best bread ever, right? Ezekiel bread, and what you should be eating, what you shouldn't, and what you should be drinking too. The Bible recommends in Timothy, literally specifically for gut health, that you should drink a little wine for the sake of your stomach. Literally says that, and infirmities, right? All kinds of diseases and issues. And again, science backs up God's word, and it literally says it's good for you, for your gut specifically. And so look into all the verses that have to do with eating, right? Because that's the number one thing with gut health. It's what we put in our bodies, what we put in our stomachs, right? So if you believe that the stomach is a temple for your soul, the Holy Spirit, start cleaning it up, right? Food damages that temple. Food messes it up, keeps it messy. Start cleaning it up with diet. And then look into verses that have to do with fasting, right? Within scripture, Jesus says, when you fast, not if you fast. And so it's not, you don't have a choice. You're supposed to fast. As Christians, we're called to fast. It's supposed to be a part of our life somehow, whether it's intermediate fasting, couple days, depending on your health issues. Again, I recommend praying about what you should do. And I do offer some like advice within the book, like depending on your health issues, like what you should do. Like if you have leaky gut or a weak like gut lining barrier, I don't think you should fast. I think it's detrimental. I believe you should do a bone broth fast because it has all the nutrients, vitamins, minerals to heal the inside of the gut lining. And do that for a few days and then take on water fasting. And then the other step is to consider mindful practices, because that's just as important as diet. If you want your body, your mind, your spirit to equally thrive, right? Mindful practices as in doing positive things, like thinking on positive things, like the book of Philippians says, always think on good things, things that are worthwhile to think about. Don't give your attention and energy to negative things, negative thoughts. Give it all to the positive things. And also don't be idle-minded, right? We all know that basic quote about an idle mind is the devil's playground. Don't think about nothing. Occupy yourself, occupy your time, your mind, right? If you have energy, if you're not sleeping, then do something productive. Read, get a hobby that's positive. And then another step is exercise, right? We are souls within this bodies, and our bodies are literally an instrument for the soul. So you have to exercise. And I even have a chapter where I discuss the specific benefits to your gut microbiome. Not just that it will make you look better, but that it actually affects the inside of your stomach. Exercise is very crucial. And I even discuss how a specific type of exercise can benefit your gut the most. So there's certain things like doing high intensity. They did a study on this, where if you do high intensity exercises 3 to 4 times per week, around 30 minutes to 40, that will give you the most benefits to your gut microbiome in terms of keeping it balanced. However, there's also overtraining, right? If you're doing high intensity 6 days a week for an hour at a time, that actually negatively affects your gut. But I discuss all those things. And honestly, that's pretty much it. But the first step is asking, right? Asking God and being aware that you cannot just pray away your health problems, your spiritual issues. You literally have to ask. And then once you see the instructions, you have to use your free will, right? God's not controlling you like a puppet. He's not making you knock on the door. He's not forcing you to ask him. He will give you instructions and you actually have to apply it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, those are all the steps. You actually have to realize that you are in control of choosing the right choices. So that's pretty much all I got on that.
Yeah, well, obviously you're saving all the major details for the book itself. Get out there and get it, guys, and read the book and get all the step-by-step instructions. But overall, I think what you're basically saying there is if you get right mentally, you'll find the physical aspects start to line up along with gut health as a part 100%. Of that too. And obviously, like I said, prayer, fasting, very important. Staying in the Word, and again, a positive attitude. I'm not trying to get new agey about this and manifestation, but I, like I said, on topic for my life, I've just had a baby. I already have a toddler who's 3 years old. It's extremely stressful. I am extremely stressed. Each day is an extreme struggle of one single thing after another, and when you've got a screaming baby in one hand while waiting for a bottle to warm up over there, while you've got your toddler running around screaming after your attention as well, it can get a little bit overwhelming. And I reflux is my biggest problem right now. My stomach is like acid. It's kind of because it's just that's what happens. The gut feels it. The stress it comes up
Mm-hmm.
in the gut and it turns acidic. But I've had those moments. Me and my wife, where we've stopped and laughed about just how crazy it is. And we actually had a moment the other day where we started to dance with my 3-year-old, and we all danced. We all had a dance while I was holding the baby. And that moment brought joy into the room. You could feel the change in the atmosphere and our attitude towards this situation. It's kind of like, yes, the baby's crying, but we love each other. We're a family, and this is what it's all really about, And it's you have those moments of perspective, and it changes the attitude, it changes the mood, it changes everything, And you have to kind of live like that. You have to do what you can to see things as the positive. It's like, yes, I'm struggling right now looking after a newborn, but I've also been blessed with a family. It's kind of, you have to see it from the other way, And that's just one macro example in my own personal life. I think everybody needs to apply this at all times. I'm an optimist, always have been. I have a smiley face tattoo on my arm here, which I don't show off that often. My 17-year-old rebellious self was just like that, But it's kind of, the idea is I always try to see things positive. My wife hates it. She's the opposite. She's very pessimistic. Not pessimistic, realistic, she would say. That's how she describes it, But it's and we find balance with each other in that way. But it's, I've found if you can't change something, all you can change is how you react to something.
Exactly. Yeah. And the best examples are, the first generation Christians, right? They were being strapped up to poles, lit on fire, fed to lions. There's this one story I absolutely love of this one saint. I forgot what year, but the Romans were basically, they were barbecuing him on like a big old grill.
Mm-hmm.
And as he was laying there, he was smiling, right, while getting burned. And he says, I think it's St. Lawrence or not St. Lawrence, something like that. But he tells the Roman soldiers, turn me over. I'm done on this side. It's like that, like you said, the situation's horrible, but their perspective is like, look, either I live, that's great. I can convert more people, right? If I die, that's great. I get to see God, I get to be with the saints. So their perspective is amazing. It's like, you cannot make me lose. I win in every situation. And so that's the kind of positive mindset we should all have, and look to them as the best example. The first generation Christians, they were just so joyful. They're like, yeah, we're going to get eaten by lions. Oh, well, it was kind of like, it was a big deal. Obviously they were scared, but it wasn't enough to kind of take away their faith. Mm-hmm. They were like, I'm winning, regardless.
What does it say? It was 365 times in the Bible, fear not, or something like that.
The most repeated command, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. For good reason, because it's what benefit do you have for viewing things negatively and having fear? I mean, nothing but acid reflux. What's the point? And like I said, you can pop an antacid, or you can change your perspective. There's ways of dealing with this.
I got about 10 minutes here. You want to answer some questions? This is live, right? So people are asking questions.
Sure. If anyone wants to send any questions in, let me know. We've had quite a few decent comments so far. People are just enjoying the conversation, from what I can see. There does seem to be a bit of like you said, a funny attitude towards, what we can and can't eat anymore, that type of attitude. I think a lot of people don't like hearing that there's certain things you can't eat. And I think one response I would have is, look, we're not saying like you lose your salvation if you eat bacon. It's not not like exactly what we're saying here.
No,
I think what you're trying to say is not a salvation issue, but it's still very good advice from God. If you don't eat shellfish, you're not putting parasites in your body. To maybe take it for what it is, it's still like I said, view it strictly as a diet book. It's extremely beneficial still, and it's funny. I actually can't eat shellfish because of my hemochromatosis. Apparently, my body can't handle the bacteria in it. It would kill me quite quickly. I would get very sick very quickly. And it's a good job. I never really liked it anyway to begin with, so it's not like a sacrifice for me in any way. But in a way, it's kind of like a real warning there for someone who already has an underlying genetic condition. Is kind of like, shellfish will kill you. Like it's really bad. Like, I mean,
on the topic of, like you said, it doesn't affect our salvation, but I would say think of it from a different perspective. Like, it's not just a health thing again, or it's not just, it affects your mental state. it affects a bunch of things: your emotions, your cognitive abilities, and these things are a big part of our walk with Christ, right? Our judgment skills, cognitive skills, how we learn, our memory, our emotional health, right? And I think it does heavily influence our walk with Christ. And I'm not here to say that eating, pork will damn you to the pits of Hades, but it does have a big impact on your walk with Christ. Diet absolutely does. Don't think of it as, oh, it's just a health thing. Like, no, no, it affects your spirit. It affects your mind. Like it's a big part. It's bigger than just physical health, obesity, diseases. It's much bigger than that. So I would say think of that when you eat sugar, unclean things, unclean animals, alcohol, substances, stuff like that.
I've got the first
Yep.
question from Sean Brown here. It says, what do you think about probiotics? Like lactobacillus reuteri. So, you get these pills, don't you? Like take one a day for a month, and it will give you all the good bacteria your stomach needs after a fast, like say a parasite cleanse. They recommend that you replace your gut bacteria, don't they, with
I'll say
probiotics? What do you
you
think of
can get
those?
you can get those in food like yogurt. I consume a lot of yogurt, like kefir, buttermilk.
Hmm.
I don't believe in taking things in pills. I think you get the perfect amount in the food you eat. So pills, I'm very anti-pills. But the only thing I think we should go out of our way to get is minerals, because all animals in the animal kingdom, or many of them, go out of their way to get minerals, right? Goats climb mountains to lick salt. Butterflies in South America will fly for hundreds of miles to look for mineral-rich water to drink. Even elephants, they will travel for long distances and dig up, trenches to find mineral-rich water to drink. So all animals go out of their way to get minerals, and we should as well. Like magnesium, selenium, that kind of stuff. So,
What's
and
the
like salt, right?
what's the
A lot
best
of
way
salt.
to get minerals?
The best way is mineral-rich salt. That's how they did it in the Bible, right?
Okay.
Salt was always a big deal. So, mineral-rich sea salt, not your table salt, not pink salt either. They have a lot of heavy metals. Even Celtic sea salt was found to have some heavy metals, but like Mediterranean sea salt, mineral-rich sea salt, salt is your best friend when it comes to minerals.
Hmm. Fantastic. So I've
Mm-hmm.
got a question for you then. What
Yeah.
is your thought on things like parasite cleanses? Do you think they are worth doing, or is it only worth doing if you've actually got parasites and you know it for sure, or do you think it's something that can be done more naturally rather than through? Because it's.
Sorry, you froze for a second.
Let me just hang on. Video on off, audio on off. Hopefully that should stop the freezing on your end there. I think
Okay.
it's okay on OBS side. But yeah, just what's your take in general on parasite cleanses? Are they more of a fad, or are they something we should be doing more regularly? What do you think?
I don't like that it's such a fad, because what people end up doing, they keep their diets the same, they keep their habits the same, and they just like, let me just hop on this cleanse. And sometimes it could actually do more damage. You kill the parasite, you don't really flush it out, and all these toxins are coming into your body, making you feel nauseous and or into
Mm.
your blood, right? Giving you headaches. So the best, I believe in them. I believe you should use the medicine that God provides us, like garlic and all these things that are antifungal, anti-parasitic. Like I like to use black walnut oil,
Yeah.
wormwood. I use that stuff myself. But the first thing you address is number one, fasting, reset your gut. Number two, diet, and then you could do the cleanses. Don't
Hmm.
hop on the cleanses if your diet's the same. It's counterproductive. It's a fad.
Hmm.
And only use parasite cleanses that are natural, things that you can trust. So like black walnut oil, cinnamon oil. I actually mention all the things you can take in my book about like what things are the most antifungal, anti-yeast, anti-parasitic. And so yeah, address diet, address fasting, and exercise. After you address that, and then hop on the cleanse, but don't do it right away. It just
Perfect.
doesn't make sense to me.
I've got one more question for you before we go.
All right, let's do
Thanks for answering that one as well. I appreciate, because I did a parasite cleanse, and I'll admit I didn't really change my diet, and I can tell there was an issue with that, and you have to do everything all in
it.
tandem, like you said.
100%.
And what comes first is the prayer and fasting. Get that right
Mm-hmm.
first, and then do a cleanse. Someone here has asked. I want to find the name of the person. It's I want to say Georgie C or George C. I'm not sure if I'm butchering that, but they want to know your opinion on the carnivore diet.
So I'll actually tell you guys my diet, and I mentioned it in the book, and I'm also doing kind of like a case study with a bunch of people on Instagram who are going to do the same thing for a month to see what changes. So What I do is Monday through Friday, I do animal products. So only animal products, no carbohydrates whatsoever. And I eat twice a day. In the mornings, I have something very light that digests really fast. So it's either yogurt, kefir, Bulgarian yogurt, or eggs cooked in butter or boiled or poached. And I have as much as that as I want. I don't have a caloric limit because I think appetite is a good thing. Appetite means you're missing minerals, calories, fat, protein. So I am very anti-starvation diets, and I tell all my clients that like appetite is good as long as you're giving yourself the things you need.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then in the evening after work, so I don't eat at all in between my work, right? From 12 to 9, I don't eat nothing. And then I have something more meat heavy, so like lamb, beef, salmon, something like that. Then weekends is kind of like where I enjoy my carbs, but it's only carbs that are your gut loves, like sweet potatoes, honey, organic maple syrup, and like a yogurt bowl, maybe some fruits in there. That's my carb day. Because carbs is your brain's favorite fuel source. So it's a day to recover, to rest, give yourself the things your body loves. But that's how I do, and it's worked for me. Maybe it won't work for every single person, but and then before all that, I actually did a 2 day fast to reset my body. Forgot to mention that, but that's when I officially started, and best thing I've ever done, mentally, physically. I feel smarter. I feel like I've. Oh, sorry. I think I got to leave soon.
Just let you know we are closing in about 3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes. I'll be done.
Perfect. Well, yeah. So
Yep.
on that, then, thanks for telling us that.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure you've listed in your book some details on diets and what we can do about that. Do you
Yep.
want to tell the guys where they can find your book and where they can find your work, and we'll wrap it up here.
Yeah, you can find my book on Amazon. Just look up Soul in the Belly. And you can find my YouTube channel, Alpha Talks, or my Instagram as well. And I also have my email in this book. And at the end of the book, I actually encourage people to send me your testimonies, like after applying all this information. I'd love to hear that stuff. But yeah, that's it.
Excellent. So yeah, Amazon guys, I have put the link in the description of this video, so you can go straight to the book there, to the USA edition, not the UK. You have to go separately and go into Amazon UK and search for the book separately. Soul in the Belly. Go and check it out. My copy's coming tomorrow. I believe in your review, Vitaly. I'll be supporting you on this, and I'll give it a thorough read. I might even do a book review myself on the channel. Who knows? Once I finish the thing, I'm looking to do a bit of a reset myself. Get it, like I said, you used to mention the fasting for a few days can really reset your entire body. I could not recommend it enough. And it gets rid of all the cravings you have, all the sugar things. It gets your body, just get it out of your system, and then you can start fresh, eating healthy. And I'm interested to follow your own diet you've just recommended there, to be honest. So thanks for that.
Please try it. I recommend it. I have some of my clients do it, so it works.
Perfect. Right. Thanks for doing this, Vitalij. It's been wonderful. I'll see you in the group chat with Joe, as usual. But I really appreciate you coming on to do this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. God bless. Thanks for doing this.
God bless. Thank you.